I thought about making a video on this when the first look trailer dropped, but I didn't want to speculate, even after doing some research on the matter, because I wanted to see what the console actually looks like in terms of specs and add-ons, and whether or not I should even be excited before I made a video. So I ended up seeing the Nintendo Switch presentation tonight, and here are my thoughts. I just got finished watching it, and while it was illuminating in terms of explaining some of its features, there were a lot of mistakes made with the presentation itself, and they didn't really have a lot of launch games listed. They mentioned there were 80 or so games in production, but I'm not really sure of the quality of these and how many there are, that are first party compared to third party games. For me, things were going well watching this until the first two games were shown, and that was 1-2 Switch and Arms. From that moment, the event started to be very painful to watch. And those are essentially two motion control games, and they look kind of silly to me. And I think they really missed the mark with regard to the demographic that they need to be focusing on with this console. They clearly wanted to have games based on some sort of a countdown mechanic regarding reflexes for the first one, and another one focusing a lot on arm movement so they could mention the features that were related to that. The fact that these were the first two games shown was kind of depressing to me. Also got tired of this whole switch bit used throughout the event. Lastly, this Japanese to English translation that went on, particularly as the event kept going, it was like an hour and 40 minutes long or something like that. It got really bad and boring in some places. And it was just really hard to watch the whole thing in real time. You couldn't fast forward through the bad parts. Things started to get a little bit better when they introduced Splatoon, and while that was a Wii U game, it's a good game to have on this system since it had a small audience on the previous console. The use of a costume presenter, however, was really bad, and it was really cheesy, and it seemed to be aiming at children, which is just the wrong demo to be focusing on. I mean, honestly, those people aren't going to be watching a live stream at midnight in the US or very early in the morning, you know, in Japan or Europe or anywhere else in Asia. It just seems like what they should be focusing on are like the teens and 20 somethings that don't want to play these types of games. And having the first three games essentially highlighted be these three was probably not the smartest idea. They should not have mentioned 1-2 Switch and Arms at all in this presentation. Those should have just been separate commercials outside of this presentation, in my opinion. And I think they could have highlighted some of the physical features of the Switch without necessarily relying on these games as indicators of how good these features might be in a game. Given the type of presentation this was, they should have led with Zelda Breath of the Wild, since that is ultimately a release title and comes out on March 3rd, the day that this console comes out. What Nintendo doesn't seem to get is you have to front load these presentations with the best releases. The most important launch titles need to come first, then spend, a little bit less time on the subsequent ones as time progresses, giving less time until you run out of launch titles. And then you want to start mentioning the upcoming titles that will come out later in that year with, again, the most important ones first, like Super Mario Odyssey, which they described as a large sandbox world, and it looked really good with regard to what they've shown. And it really captured the feeling of previous open world Mario titles. However, since that's a holiday 2017 title, I found it shocking that it's A, going to take so long to come out, and B, they waited so long to mention this once they started talking about games. With that said, Nintendo did show a lot of games. Some of them were, features where they highlighted a game for like a minute or two. Others were like clips you saw here and there. But again, I felt like the order was wrong in terms of how they presented them, and some of them should have been skipped entirely. We did see titles like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Fire Emblem Warriors, and a few Dragon Quest games. Another one called Atlas, which is an Unreal Engine 4 game. They also had Skyrim with mods that they announced. They had Minecraft and other games like that. They had some unannounced FIFA games and a number of other titles clearly ported from other consoles. A lot of games were also not launch titles as near as I could tell, and many had no release dates whatsoever. Also, Europe is getting a later release date for the console itself than either Japan or the United States, who both get it on March the 3rd. and there are going to be a lot of games coming throughout 2017, but as far as what's coming up in the front, that was not clearly stated in the presentation. So this begs the question, why pre-order the console? It sounds like there could be as many as 15 launch games, according to some of the leaks that are out there, but what games will those be really? With that said, there are a lot of things that were confirmed tonight. The console will be $299 in the US. There will be online services and multiplayer, but it remains to be seen how they'll actually compare with Sony and Microsoft services. The free trial will start on March 3rd, but the paid service will start in the fall of 2017. Thankfully, there will be no region lock by default on games, though it sounds like it'll be supported for developers who want to use it, but that's just a guess on my part. It was a little unclear. I do wonder how game upgrades, patches, and DLC will be handled, as they didn't mention it in the presentation, nor do they really cover storage space, of the console. But unofficially, it does appear that the units will have 32 gigabytes of storage on board, and the games themselves will be preloaded onto game cards, which will act as high-speed cartridges, which may actually store more information than you see on a Blu-ray disc and be much faster than that medium. They mentioned tabletop mode, which is when the unit is physically moved outside of the dock and, say, placed on a table using the kickstand, and then you can use the wireless Joy-Con remotes separately from the unit. And the console itself will have between 2.5 and 6 hours of portable gameplay using the existing battery within the unit. And since there is a USB-C port on the unit, batteries with USB connections can be used to prolong the gameplay experience, or you could possibly use a wall charger, which could keep it powered on indefinitely, so that's good. They highlighted that you can connect over Wi-Fi for multiplayer, and it sounded like there's a wired network option, likely through the USB-C connection. I suspect USB multi-port adapters could be used to enhance the functionality of the portable console. They highlighted some of the features of the left and right Joy-Con controllers. For example, the left one has a screenshot button and the right one has a home button. There are also two shoulder buttons on the rails of each controller, and they both have accelerometers and gyroscopes built in. They even sell wrist straps, which make it easier to press the shoulder buttons on those, and they also help prevent you from dropping or damaging the controllers when you put the lanyard, say, around your wrist. Each mini controller has infrared functionality, which can be used for a variety of things like pointing at your other hand and making motions. And they also have an HD rumble feature, which is an enhanced motion sensing functionality that is also provided with some vibration feedback. So it's kind of a symbiotic relationship that adds features to these little mini controllers. Also, there's an NFC reader on the right Joy-Con. The buttons for the left and right Joy-Cons look too close to each other, in my opinion, so that might be a problem for someone that spends a lot of time playing those. But this might be addressed by third parties, for example. And of course, the Pro controller, that's an option. I guess you would call it the Pro-Con. That's an alternative for about $70. That's not included with the $299 bundle, but it's something you can purchase extra. Or you can use the included Joy-Con grip, which is sort of like a controller base in and of itself, and you put the two mini controllers inside it. Or you can buy an extra set of controllers in either black, blue, red, or a combination of blue and red colors. They even sell a $15 Joy-Con wheel that you insert the controller, so that's pretty cool. So I'll go off on the aside real quick. So the Switch has potential since it's a little smaller than a 7-inch tablet, so it's pretty portable, and that could have some value as a small tablet option or somewhat of a large smartphone type console. When you don't use the controllers, it does have a 10-point multi-touch screen. It's capacitive, so that's good. I personally wonder if it'll have speakers on the side. If so, I can't really tell, because that would give you kind of good experience if you hold it in landscape mode. I do notice it doesn't have a webcam or a microphone on the unit, so that's something to notice. I do think it would be kind of cool if they literally sold the console alone by itself, maybe with a charger or a USB cable. Since they sell an extra docking set or dock set for $90, in theory you could have a standalone tablet for like $200, that you could use in that, and then you can buy accessories and add-ons as needed. So that'd be another cool option. I'd also like to see on-screen controls for some games that support it if you do want to use it as a tablet, or maybe if you use it as a in tablet form as a browser, if you're so inclined, if you're carrying that with you, you know, or other mobile games that are on other platforms could also be ported, for example, so that'd be kind of cool. I also wanted to mention that my Google Nexus 9 tablet is powered by a Tegra K1 system on a chip. That's basically one full generation behind the Tegra X1 that's used in the Switch. This is comparable to the Google Pixel C tablet that came out a few months ago, or nearly a year ago, that has a similar system on a chip from the same generation as the Nintendo Switch. My tablet can power through any game on Android that I install on it, so that's pretty impressive. And the Switch is quite a bit more powerful, and it'll have a highly optimized custom operating system on it that should provide very low-level hardware access working with this new architecture that basically is better than, say, Android, which is relatively high-level operating system that doesn't allow you to access the hardware as well in some cases. Anyways, what this means is this could be a much more powerful and effective unit compared to the Pixel C, particularly when docked. As far as specifications, it has a quad-core SoC, 4 gigabytes of RAM, 32 gigabytes of onboard storage, a 6.2-inch 10-point multi-touch 720p HD screen, 802.11 AC Wi-Fi operating at both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz speeds. It has a 3.5 millimeter audio jack and a kickstand with slots for a game card and connections for controllers. When mobile, the CPU will run at full speed, but the GPU will downclock. When docked, the CPU and GPU will both run at full speed, and apparently it'll run Dark Souls 3 and other Unreal Engine 4 titles. When used in tabletop mode, it operates at a 720p resolution because that's what it's limited to on screen, and when you dock it then runs at a full 1080p on your HD TV. It also uses USB-C to power it, and it offers what they call fast charge technology. That's something that USB-C is compatible with, and it operates at 5 volts with 2.1 amps. And if it does use that fast charge technology, the first 50 or so percent of charging should be at an increased speed, and it slows down as it gets closer to 100%. The included switch dock is a docking station that'll have a little brick power supply attached to it, connecting to the wall socket, and of course an HDMI connector for use with an HD TV. Also, the switch is air-cooled with an additional fan once it's docked. I don't know how much space the game cards store, but I would think that there should be support for at least 64 gigs or more, and let the game publishers decide on the size of game card they would like to use in terms of storage. The Switch should be much more powerful than the Wii U, but not quite as powerful as the Xbox One when it's docked, and a bit less powerful than the PS4. If Nintendo and Nvidia both put their best foot forward here, we could see a success in this hybrid portable console ecosystem that combines mobile games and traditional console games all in one system. If they can work together to provide low-level access to the hardware the way we really expect with consoles, that we don't quite get with Android or even with iOS to some extent, this will be a really good sign for developers in building on this system, and that could be good for competition in the market and for everyone else as consumers as a whole. At a minimum, we should see more remastered Wii U content like Splatoon, and it is confirmed that we'll see virtual console games like from the GameCube and older games on this console. The more legacy games from previous consoles they can offer on this one, the better for this console. If you can eventually play most Nintendo titles, and especially the big ones from older mobile and console platforms, that's a win for everyone. Also, we'll have first and third party accessories like stands, bags, charging cables, controllers, wall chargers, car chargers, skins, for the various items. Hopefully TPU cases if someone, wants to use a console as a tablet. We could have VR support in the future like Google Cardboard, though in my opinion the 720p screen and the lower frame rates that are offered, that cap out likely at 60 hertz might not provide the best experience, but it'd be kind of cool to play with here and there. Also, I do think it would be great if there's stylus support, even if it's just a simple capacitive tip. Anyways, that's all I wanted to mention. Overall, I thought it was an interesting presentation. There were some good points and some bad points. Um, there's definitely potential here. I would just like to see more come out by the time the console is released so that people can really feel confident in their pre-order and so that they can sell millions of these units and then improve the console situation for everyone. Anyways, thank you very much for watching and have a great day.